Welcome back to the show. Many thanks for staying with us and continuing to stay. Now, young leaders across the African continent have arrived in Accra for the African Union Youth Volunteer Corps Conference. It's a long one. We'll break it down. Now, the program promotes volunteering to deepen the status of young people in Africa as key participants in the delivery of Africa's human development targets and goals. And Ghana is hosting it for the first time. I have two special people here in the studio to talk to us about it. Aurelia Mbokazi, he is the head of communication for the AU Foundation. That's right?
Yes,
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Also here in the studio with me is Daniel Adunya. He's the project coordinator, AU Youth Volunteer Corps, right?
Correct.
Great. It's good to have you guys. So tell us a bit more about this. It sounds so long. It's a very long name, and it sounds very technical. So break it down. What is this all about? Okay, you, Daniel?
Right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. The African Union Youth Volunteer Corps is a flagship program of the African Union that aims to develop young people in their capacities, education, employability skills, but also to achieve the goals of the African Union of an integrated, prosperous and peaceful continent.
Integrated continent, you say?
Correct.
Okay. I'd like for you to give us the details and the reason why you think this is a forum that will do any good to that idea or to that agenda of African unity, if it will happen at all. Which of you wants to go with this?
Oh, certainly. I mean, young people play a very important part, you know, in the building of our continent. And this program, to shorten it, it's called the AUIVC, which sounds quite a lot easier.
AUIVC.
AUIVC.
Trust me, it does.
It sounds a whole lot easier.
Right.
So it basically, you get a lot of young professionals. They apply to to take part, and they want to serve because it's all about volunteerism and really giving their skills to benefit the continent. Now it is the young people who are saying that this is our continent, this is our home. Africa it belongs to us. We are the future. I mean, it's set out in Agenda 2063, and these are young people who are really getting involved and really wanting to make that difference. And I mean, the program has been around now for this is the 7th year.
Okay. But the first time in Ghana.
Yes, it's the first time in Ghana, and I mean, it is hosted in different countries. That is the training program part of it, where they actually get to meet over 100 young people who are selected from the 55 member states. And I think Daniel has most of the details because I'm actually from the AU Foundation. The foundation's role is a little slightly more different.
Fair enough. Let me find out from you, Daniel. What is it that you're going to be doing at this conference that will push that agenda? Except I'm getting the agenda wrong. The agenda is for what? African unity?
Correct.
Or so uniting the younger generation.
Right. So basically what the program does, and I have a perfect example even for that at the end. The program, what it does, the Volunteer Corps, we recruit young people at the African Union from all over the continent. This year, when we launched our call, 37,000 young people applied to be part of the program. Unfortunately, we only have 100 slots every year.
That's
where
bad.
We're counting. Yeah, and that's probably where the AU Foundation would come in. Where, because it's always constrained with the resources that we have. So the idea is that these young people would then be groomed and trained, and then they would be sent out for a period of 12 months to serve as young professionals as AU Youth Volunteers.
Okay.
So the ideal here is that you are not allowed to serve in your own country. You as a Ghanaian would probably go to Algeria or Botswana or
like
Ethiopia.
Mauritius.
Mauritius is your choice, for example. You'll go to serve there for a period of 12 months in line with your professional background. If you're a journalist, you would work most likely as a journalist.
Sounds good.
So it's a professional volunteer program. But in addition to that, the integration part where it comes in is that by the mere fact that you're supposed to serve in another country, you are going to be the ambassador for Ghana in the country, in Mauritius, where you come from. But then when you come back, definitely you're going to know a little bit more
about the culture.
About Mauritius. So that way, we even have our first case this year. We have one volunteer from Ghana who is serving in Ethiopia, who has just almost getting married with a girl from Malawi.
Oh dear. Okay. So that's marriage and bonding and boyfriend and girlfriend is part of the arrangement?
It's not part of the arrengement.
Of African unity.
But it's part of the thing. So basically what we're coming here to do in Ghana is that before we send out these young people for the duty, we bring them for a training, for 2 weeks training, leadership training, then training on Pan-Africanism, the values of the African Union, what it's trying to achieve, and then in that their own role, what we expect from them. So those 2 weeks where we bring them, it's from the 3rd to 16th of December. It's going to be here in Accra, Ghana. We're going to bring them, the 100 people, to prepare them for that. And I may add at this point, the reason why we chose even Ghana, Ghana is one of the forefronts of Pan-Africanism on the continent. I mean, it's the land of Kwame Nkrumah after all.
We could do better though.
But Ghana is also among the first countries to have launched a visa on arrival for all Africans. So that means us coming here is not by coincidence. It's actually a deliberate effort. And we thank the Ministry of Youth and Sports for actually having taken up on our invitation and having hosted.
It sounds pretty much like the American Peace Corps program. Is that what it's supposed to be? Is that the idea?
Yeah, we have a lot of programs like the Nation Builders Corps here in Ghana, where you have more than 100,000 young people who come and go also as volunteers, but also Peace Corps and different similar programs are models for such. Yeah.
So from the way he's explained it, it appears that the AU Foundation has a lot more work to do, because if you're receiving 37,000 applications and you can only allow 100 people, it's like the people are willing, the young people are willing, they want to get this thing done, but obviously there are constraints. So what are you doing about it?
Basically, our role as the foundation is to mobilize resources, mainly from Africa. And I mean, like, we look at our continent has quite a lot of resources. Our continent, I mean, the economies are getting much better. And instead of continuously relying from, international funding, international donors, now as the AU Foundation, we're actually looking internally by engaging the private sector. I mean, for example, here in Ghana, we're already speaking to various organizations in the private sector, and they have shown quite a lot of interest in actually coming on board and actually supporting this this program that's going to be taking place here. And I mean, we already have, because the foundation is fairly new. I mean, we were officially launched in 2014. Maybe that's why you don't really know much about us and what it is that we do. But we have a program called the African Economic Platform that we actually hosted now in March in Mauritius, and where we had a head of state.
That I should be able to make it.
You better come next year. It's happening again.
I should.
You should be there. So it basically brings together heads of state, business leaders, young people, and academia to really discuss development, economic development, industrializations, and all the other aspects that actually enable that to happen, across the continent. And another aspect that we had, I mean, we had young innovators from across the continent who were doing some of the most fantastic things. I mean, such, for example, they would come up with ways of, of filtering water. So that people then in villages can have, clean water. And then those young people were able to introduce them to members of the private sector who would then take on those programs, those projects, and support them.
Interesting. Let me find out. It sounds all bourgeois, if I may put it. If it's not, prove to us that it's not. Tell us who can join and who can be a part of this. How come 37,000 people want to be a part and they can? That you have explained already. But who can be a part of this program? Daniel?
Go ahead.
Basically, every young person on the continent is eligible to apply. The requirements to join this program is, first and foremost, you have to be an African citizen, of course. You have to be young, and by definition is that we follow the African Youth Charter, which puts young people between the age of 15 to 35.
15 to 35.
Right.
Great,
so
I mean.
Before you finish your service, you still have to be under the age bracket. And then it is a professional volunteering program, which means you need to have skills level qualifications, tertiary education. So that's basically it. But then we are looking for young people who have achieved something in their own countries, in their own communities before coming.
When you say achieve something, what should they have achieved?
So we are looking for those young community leaders who are actually mobilizing. They're not sitting at home because they don't have a job, but it could be somebody who said, I've established an HIV/AIDS club when I was in university. I was the young leader of gender
So
movement.
by so doing, how do you select them? Do they have to present a CV for you to look through their CV and then you choose them?
They have to apply. All the details for application are on the website of the African Union.
Give us the website. Anybody interested perhaps may.
It's au.int.
au.int.
Right.
Okay.
So under opportunities, you'll find careers, internships, and then Youth Volunteer Corps is one of them. So all the requirements are listed there.
So that's au.int, au.int if you want to be a part of this program. I'm sure that this year, it's too late to join this year, right?
Right.
It's too late for this year, but next year certainly something that you'd want to do. The agenda of Pan-Africanism, the agenda of African Union, it feels like it's very far away, but these are some of the baby steps that you take towards some of these things, isn't it? Let me take your very final words. So the conference is happening which date?
The training takes place from the 3rd December until the 16th of December. Right.
So you're here from 3rd to 16th?
Right.
Okay. Where is it?
It's going to be at the hosted at the University of Ghana.
University of Ghana.
Here in Accra. And I'm also happy to say that because Ghana is also hosting, we have at least 10 Ghanaians who would be all slotted. Great. Unlike other countries who just have maximum of 2 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, that's great. We'll host it all the time then. Okay. So are people sort of invited to come around? Or how is it going to be, like the conference?
I think there will be some events, that are open to the public, if maybe the closing event, but those will be communicated in due course.
Okay, very well.
Yeah,
very well. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for coming into the studio. So we're talking about the AU Youth Summit, and you can go on to au.int for more information on this. I think that this is a good program that all African young people should be a part of. I've been speaking with Aurelia Mbokazi. She's head of communications with the AU Foundation, and also Daniel Adunya. He's a programs coordinator, AU Youth Volunteer Course. Do they get to be paid, those who go on the volunteer work?
Yeah, actually we give them stipends. We cover their airfare ticket, of course, going to the country, health insurance, and most importantly, we issue them also with AU passports that allow them to travel across the continent. So it's quite an exciting.
It is exciting. Thank you very much for coming. I wish you all the best.
Thank you
for
having us.
Thank you. Okay. Now away from that, the 100,000 people to be employed under the Nation Builders Corps can rest assured that they will enjoy their jobs till retirement. This assurance was made by Deputy Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Bright Rekubrobe, who also explains these programs are expected to contribute to the growth of the nation's GDP, enabling the nation then to absorb more people into the Corps as the years progress. Mr. Rekubrobe, however, added government is yet to dedicate specific funding streams to the program. The Deputy Minister also assures teeming Ghanaians the program will not employ people on partisan lines. He was speaking to JoyNews' Daniel Dazi on News Desk.
Let me put it on record. There is no job like permanent job. People get jobs, and even on the job, they decide at some point in their lives to do 1 or 2 things differently. So not necessarily saying that permanent as in the person stuck to it till retirement. But if somebody wants to be on the job till retirement, that will be an option.
So how sustainable will this program be? You can imagine that you would have hundreds of thousands of young graduates coming out almost every year.
Yes, what is going to happen is that this is a program that is targeting building the nation. And as people work to enhance productivity and give it up, this is where they are also going to contribute to the GDP of the country. And certainly, yes, monies will be generated and sustain this program, as in all employment that we have here in Ghana. We have a backlog of graduate unemployment, and that is what certainly we need to address. So these programs and interventions will be rolled out in phases. So certainly not the 100,000 per se at a go, but we are targeting that the backlog of unemployed graduates that we have we are going to ensure we put them in these strategic sectors to reduce that drastically. And so if they are in employment and more of them are coming on year by year, we seek to roll them on. It's a very coordinated, employment program. As you will observe, this is a ministry that traditionally, it's not employment creation ministry. It is employment coordination ministry. But this initiative of the president is being given to the ministry to coordinate. This means that even on the job, there will be lots of skills building. And like I said earlier, people are very free as they work to even move around within the same environment. So people are not going to be stuck and kept like as in one schedule. People will be very free to, as it were, move into other sectors of where they find themselves. But the question of whether it's going to be casual or it's going to be permanent is what I addressed earlier. It doesn't mean that people will also be stuck on one kind of job, because the coordination, as we are looking at, will even have relationship with the National Entrepreneurial Innovation Plan program, which will also equip people with skills, with entrepreneurial ideas. And as they seek to migrate and do other things, we will fill the gap that unemployment has created.
There are concerns that for programs like this, sometimes they target party foot soldiers and sympathizers. How do we know that this time every Ghanaian gets a fair share of those 100,000?
Thanks for the question. You know that normally people are very insecure, especially when things have been done in the past and they were faced and confronted with certain events and situations which they didn't admire. I recall a couple of years ago, our colleagues on the other side had a symposium or brought their people together and targeted them that we want to create jobs for NDC boys and girls. This is a departure from what our colleagues have done in the past. Remember, we have done 2-3 job openings since we came this year. And you recall, in the local government service, for example, you see a whole graphic page advertising and allowing everybody to apply and be on board. The next was GRA. They had a whole page. Meanwhile, these were discussed as a government that there are job opportunities for which we need to fill gaps. But in order to be fair to all Ghanaians, opportunities were opened widely for everybody to apply and be so. And the president has on several occasions made it clear that he's living up to what his oath of allegiance. It is to Ghana and not to one particular party. I must tell you that most of our boys and girls in the MPP are not happy the way we, the leadership, are going about things and having even spread of everything for everybody. But that is what we have to do. That's what we are faced with.
Okay, Honorable.
We must not let any youth be disadvantaged because his father or mother belongs to another political party. No.
Right.
These are all Ghanaians and Ghanaian children, and we must target them in everything that we do.
Right, Honorable. Finally, do we have any funding lines in crafting this program, putting it together? Did we put to get down any specific channels of income where the money will be coming from to pay these young people?
Yes, as we speak, the budget has a commitment of 300 million to begin this program, and another 300 million committed to it all in year 2018. So this is where we are looking at. It's committed funds already to do that. And remember that this is an initiative of the presidency, and it is accommodated and housed in the office of the president, even though it will be coordinated from the employment ministry. So that is already committed. And like I
so
said
the budget,
earlier,
the 300 million
this
comes
will
from the office of the
provide
president.
and also add on.
I was
Again,
asking if the 300 million comes from the office of the president.
It is coming from the budget through the office of the president.
But the YEA, for instance, had specific taxes that were devoted, like the communication service tax and the GETS fund, a percentage from GETS fund, that we knew that every year we have monies from here going to the YEA. With this case, do we have any specific income lines coming there?
Well, the contemplation of this idea has come with that funding initially to be committed in the budget. As we roll out, there will be more thinking through and how Ghanaians will buy into it and how we will come up with a more sustainable funding for this initiative.